2020 is right around the corner, and if you're like me, you're probably already thinking about all the things that you want to accomplish in 2020, or at least considering how you would like 2020 to be different than it was in 2019. Part of that for us in the veterinary world is often trying to figure out how to have more balance, how to have less stress, and how to have less anxiety. And I want to talk a little bit about the one key to managing that anxiety and the stress in VetMed, because there's one thing that makes all the difference in the world, and most of us completely miss it. So what is that one thing? The one key to managing the stress that comes with veterinary medicine is understanding what's really happening. Yeah, a lot of us think that we know exactly where our stress comes from. And if I ask you, I'm sure that you would list out a lot of things that you believe are causing your stress. You know, things like the amount of money that you're making, the hours that you're working, your coworkers, your bosses, the corporate entity, the student loan debt, all of those things are adding to your stress. And a lot of times, let's be honest, it's kind of what you believe is the clients, right? Like a lot of us do. If the clients would just do the things that we advise them to do, then we would be less stressed. And so those things are things like showing up for their appointments on time or giving their preventive care, those types of things. In addition to that, obviously the way that we interact with our coworkers can also add a lot of stress. And we also, in those cases, believe that our stress would be better if those coworkers would just behave differently. I know that you guys are thinking this stuff because you've told me and I experienced it myself. So if you're able to identify that, then what am I talking about when I say that you don't understand it? Well, we falsely believe that our stress and anxiety comes from the other people around us. And of course we do, because we have never been taught otherwise. And what I want you to see is that the way that you manage stress and anxiety is something that you don't know how to do because you don't really understand where it comes from in the first place. Now, you may think that you do because you're able to list all of those things that you believe are causing your stress, but here's what I have to tell you. If that's what was really causing your stress, then you would have already figured out how to modify things so that your stress went down. And I know lots and lots of you have been trying to manage your own stress, to come up with ways to feel better. Some of the things that we often do is like job hopping, right? So we think that all of these external things are causing all of our stress and anxiety, and so we go to look for another position. Oftentimes we label our original positions, the places that we work, maybe even right now if we're looking for a way out, we label those as toxic. And man, does that make us feel crummy or what, to think that we work in a toxic environment? What if I told you that that's not true? Because I don't believe that it is. But I know that you can't see that, and I also know that the culture of VetMed has introduced you to that term of a toxic work environment and toxic people. It's also introduced you to the concept that anxiety and stress in VetMed are inevitable, and now that you're out there living day in and day out, and you are encountering the challenges, and you are starting to feel stressed out, you're now believing that it's true. What I want you to know is that we totally, as a profession, have missed the boat on what's actually causing our anxiety and stress, and therefore we have also missed the boat on how we can resolve it. It's actually much more simple than it appears, and it also is completely within your control. I've been doing a few workshops recently over anxiety management and also some webinars where I've been teaching the 4 steps to understanding VetMed anxiety and taking your life back. And I want to invite you to attend one of those webinars and learn exactly what's going on in the first place. Because here's the deal, guys. Unless you actually understand what's going on regarding the anxiety and stress, where it's really coming from, and what I'm talking about is how it's actually impacting you, how you are yourself responding to these situations, until you really understand the emotion of anxiety or the emotion of stress and what creates it in the first place, you will never be able to overcome it. You just won't. And that's nothing to feel bad about, because it's just information you don't have. It's information that we were never taught. And now we need to fix that. We need to teach you the information, because you're making choices on lack of data. So just think about, if you're trying to treat a patient in front of you, you need some information, right? You need to at least have a physical exam and at least have a history from the owner to have some kind of idea of what's going on, so that you can make some recommendations, and together you and the client can move forward in the treatment. Without information, you're just throwing stuff at the wall, right? Like you're just throwing stuff out there hoping that it's going to work. That's exactly what's happening right now with the way that most of us are approaching our anxiety and stress management in VetMed. We don't have enough information, and we definitely don't have the right information. Kind of on the contrary, we have a lot of false information about what is actually causing anxiety and stress. And because we're taking action from this false information, of course it's not getting better. I don't want 2020 to turn out like 2019 has for you. I don't want you to continue believing only what you know right now simply because nobody's ever actually taught you where all the anxiety and stress comes from and what's actually creating it within yourself. Because that is the most amazing superpower that you have, is understanding where it comes from. Because here's the thing. You have total control to change it. And it's not going to require other people to do things different. It's not going to require you to change your job in order to find happiness in VetMed. It's not about that at all. And that's where I've said before that understanding where anxiety and stress come from to begin with is the key to being able to manage it. Without the data, you're just trying to fix something without seeing the full picture. And that's just never going to turn out well. So if you're interested in learning exactly where the anxiety is coming from, so exactly where the anxiety and stress is coming from, so that you can start to understand where you have power to completely change all of it and nobody else has to do a single thing differently, 2020 can be so much better for you if you do this. I invite you to just jump onto one of my free webinars. It's joyfuldvm.com/stress, and you can see the upcoming webinars that are scheduled. And also with the webinars, when you sign up for the webinar, even if you can't make it on the day that it's scheduled and the time that it's scheduled, I'll send you the replay afterwards. I want you to have this information, and I promise you, what you learn on this webinar is going to change your entire perspective when it comes to the way that you're approaching stress and anxiety, not only in VetMed, but in your entire life. And it's going to really help you move away from that victim mentality, those beliefs that going into VetMed was the worst decision ever. And you're going to start to see that your future is still in front of you. Everything that you want for your life is still absolutely possible. Everything that you've done in the past, everything that's happened in the past is not going to influence what comes next. But it does take you taking that one step to actively learn what's really going on. Otherwise, you're just giving away the rest of your life to the information that you already know, and who wants to do that? If there's certainly a possibility of having something better, I think that you would probably really benefit from spending the time learning that information. More information is always better. And I promise you, what's happening is not something that you're going to ever figure out without understanding exactly how it's all created in the first place. So I hope that you guys have a wonderful and safe New Year's Eve here, 2019 New Year's Eve. And I can't wait to see how 2020 turns into something even more exciting and better and beyond anything that you even think is possible. I know many of you right now are looking at the new year and just thinking it's going to be more of the same. And here's my final thought on that. The only way 2020 is more of the same of what you experienced in 2019 is if you just continue to sit back and let your life happen to you. You have way more power than that. You are capable of so much more than that. So I encourage you to take back the control of your life and just start by learning what's actually going on with the anxiety and stress so that you can actually become empowered to create the life that you want. I hope you guys have a very happy new year, and I can't wait to see you soon. Take care.